I haven't had this many people come to a finance committee meeting in quite some time. Tell me you guys can hear me.
I can hear you.
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
My big moment to shine and my internet went out. Okay, it's 6:30. I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. All members are present. We have one item to discuss this evening, temporary ordinance B11 presented by the administration. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract or contracts according to law for the Summit DD Front Street parking expansion and declaring an emergency. Mr. Damasi, I believe you're going to speak to this tonight.
I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
As we discussed last fall, the city is going to be building a new parking lot adjacent to the Summit DD facility, which is located on Oakwood, essentially between Front and Second Street. The new parking lot will provide 147 parking spaces for Summit DD during the daytime and the general public for nights and weekends. The lot will include fencing, landscaping, lighting, an electric vehicle charging station, and permeable pavement to accommodate stormwater management and water quality. If you've been to the site recently, you'll notice that we've done some demolition. We've removed all of the commercial buildings and many of the homes that were on the property that we're building the parking lot. There is one more structure that needs to be removed, and that'll be removed here in a couple months. Bids for the project were opened on March 3rd, and we received 6 bids, with Parent Asphalt being the lowest bids of all those. Work with council's approval and Board of Control approval, work will begin late April and be complete by late summer. And I can answer any questions you may have.
Very good. We talked before, I think in budget, we talked about being able to, we were receiving more bids due to what was happening in 2020 and more vendors and contractors looking for work and being available for work. You said we had 6 bidders. Is that typical for a project like this, Tony? Was this more or less than you would have anticipated?
We're happy with this. We don't build many parking lots. We do many roads and bridges and water lines, but we're satisfied and very happy with the number of bids that we received and the final cost as well.
Right, good. And we discussed this during budget. Has anything changed beyond our discussion in budget? You had mentioned the EV plug-in, and I don't know if I recall that from the budget hearing.
Yeah, I don't know if that was mentioned or not back then, but it's something that we've considered, and the budget can support it, and we'd like to provide, this will be the first location of the city provided EV charging station. There's obviously private ones all throughout the city and the region, but hopefully this is the first of many that we can provide the public.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't have any additional questions. I continue to believe this is a great project, a great partnership. It's going to benefit the city in a lot of ways. We're expanding parking down there for our residents after hours in the evenings. And I think it's a real good use of public dollars and with some of DD and the jobs that they're bringing. I think it's just great. I'll turn it over to the Finance Committee. Are there any questions or comments from the Finance Committee?
Mr. Gorbach, I have a comment and question.
Sure.
Thank you. The EV is going to, I believe, be paid for by a grant that we have received and that we have money to purchase more. So I think that is the first spot it's been designated for. One has been designated for. And I'm really happy to hear about the permeable pavement, Tony. That's pretty great. So that's it. Yes, I think it's a great project and thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Are there any, go ahead, Jeff.
I just feel the same way you do, Tim, on it. I mean, I'm very excited for it. And I think it'll help, especially not just during the day, the people at MRDD, but all the people that come down there and eat at the restaurants and all. I know I love driving down there at night, and you're seeing so many more cars all the time. And so we definitely need the parking, and I think it'll be, it'll turn out really nice. I'm very excited for it.
I agree. Thank you. Jerry, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a comment. I've been for this project since the beginning. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's just going to benefit not only the Summit County DD, but the city itself, the downtown corridor. I just can't wait till it's all done and said, and I'm just excited about this. I'm just very happy with everybody that's been involved with this, and I congratulate you all, and I think you guys are doing a great job. That's it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from anyone at the rail? Mr. Balthus.
Thank you, Mr. Gorbach. I just want to echo what everyone is saying. It's really amazing the amount of parking or amount of cars that are down in the downtown area at all times. I've walked over to the parking deck a number of times, and it's actually, with the works opening and everything, it's actually to the point where there'll be cars parked on the top level. So I think that this parking is incredibly needed just to service the downtown in the evenings and weekends. And I think the fact that it's tied to job creation and income tax in our downtown just makes it about as good as it could be. So I just want to make it clear that I strongly support the project, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Couldn't agree more. Anyone else from the rail? Plenty of members from the public. I know you're here likely for B13, the master plan, and we're glad to have you, but are there any questions or comments for this project? Not seeing or hearing anyone. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. At this point, I'll accept a motion to bring out temporary ordinance B11 for a vote next week.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Before we adjourn, I'd like to approve the minutes for February 1st and March 1st. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions to those minutes? Hearing none, they'll stand as written, and that concludes the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Good evening. It is 6:38, and I will call the Public Affairs Committee to order. The first matter of business is to approve the minutes from the February 1st, 2021 meeting and the March 1st, 2021 meeting minutes. Are there any additions or comments? Hearing none, they'll be approved as submitted. We have one piece of legislation to consider this evening, temporary resolution B12, a resolution supporting West Creek Conservancy's Clean Ohio Green Space Round 15 grant application for the Merriman Valley by the city of Cuyahoga Falls and declaring an emergency. What this resolution is a resolution in support of a grant application for a private nonprofit entity that is applying to get dollars to spend to preserve green space in the Merriman Valley and to potentially develop trails. We do have Derek Schaefer here with us this evening, and I'd like to give him an opportunity just to talk a little bit about the West Creek Conservancy and what they do, just so all of the members of council and members of public here are able to hear about what they do. So Derek, if you're here, and if John, if you could unmute him, that would be helpful.
I hope everyone can hear me now. Yes, my name's Derek Schaefer with West Creek, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We actually work throughout 8 counties buying land for conservation, restoration, trail, park, greenway development. We were a pivotal partner within the Cuyahoga River Water Trail, of which Cuyahoga Falls was a strong partner on. I love going to Waterworks Park. So, a big part of our work is actually conserving land, restoring its ecological integrity or functionality, and then building those trails and greenways that connect people to them. And again, we do this throughout 8 counties. We're a small staff, but the motion in front of you, or the resolution, I'm sorry, in front of you tonight, we are applying to Clean Ohio, what's referred to as Round 15. And this is an application that the nonprofit makes. And we just have, it scores better when we have multiple jurisdictions supporting the application. The city of Akron has passed a similar resolution, and we're on to Summit County next. So I just appreciate the opportunity. And the dollars are for preservation, restoration, and some trail development as well. So I know this is a very large group of people, but always happy to answer questions after the fact.
Great. Thank you very much, Derek, and appreciate you taking the time to come here today. And also, I know we have worked together with the city and your organization on a number of great projects, and really appreciate that. And hopefully, I think we can work on more in the future. I think it's always a great thing when we can find additional resources to help conserve and to help develop parks and green space in the city. So really appreciate that. With that, I'll open up to the committee if there are any questions about the resolution. Councilman Miller, do you have a question? Oh, sorry, that was my, I thought you had a hand up and that was my mouse, so I apologize. Are there any other comments or questions from any of the members of council? Any members of the public? I'm scrolling to see. Am I missing anyone? Would anyone like to speak? All right, I don't believe we have anyone. So do I have a motion to bring out temporary resolution B12 with a favorable recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0, and that concludes the Public Affairs Committee. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. It is 6:42, and the Community Development Committee will now come to order. We do have meeting minutes to approve from February 1st. Is there any adjustments, changes, or anything that need to be made to those minutes? I don't see anything, so they'll stand as approved. We do have one item that's on the agenda today. It is B13. It's presented by the administration. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a professional services agreement with the FAR associations for the preparation of a study and master plan for the Merivin Valley and Schumacher planning areas in an amount not to exceed $200,000. Authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Akron for the reimbursement of costs pertaining thereto, making necessary appropriations for the same, and declaring an emergency. I believe we have the mayor that wanted to speak first on this ordinance.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a few remarks, and thanks everyone for zooming in. I think that's a testimonial to the importance of this item. When we think of the Merriman Valley, we think of Papa Joe's, Soleil's Farm Market, the Scenic Railroad, Liberty Commons, the Towpath Trail, the Cuyahoga River, and most importantly, the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. The park is comprised of 33,000 protected acres and attracts an estimated 2.2 million visitors a year, one of the most visited in the country. And within its borders, the park contains the Cuyahoga River, which was declared by USA Today as the #1 urban kayaking river in the entire USA. Many national parks across the country have heavy development around their perimeter. These amenities include lodging, restaurants, bike rentals, coffee shops, etc. We know that visitors and residents alike want things to do in the immediate area. The park is like a magnet, and it's obvious that people want to live, work, and play nearby. But what should the live, work, and play elements look like? Those are the questions we will be seeking answers for. I want to thank the following people who have been involved in this process so far and look forward to continued collaboration moving forward to shape the future of the Merriman Valley. Our own development director, Diana Colavecchio, Fred Guerra, Craig Kenkel, Superintendent of the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, Lisa King, the Executive Director of Summit Metro Parks, Mr. Andrew Holland, spokesperson for the Preserve the Valley Group, Akron Mayor Dan Horgan, and Akron Development Director Jason Segedy, and most importantly, all the many residents, visitors, and business owners who live, work, and play in the Valley and surrounding areas. Thank you for being a stakeholder in our future. And I'll kick it over to Diana Colavecchio for some more information. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're introducing an ordinance that, if approved, celebrates a highly rare joint venture, a commitment by and between two cities, us and our neighbors in Akron, to shape future sustainable development in the Valley, to promote ecotourism, and to build on the already present recreational opportunities that exist there. As the mayor just said, there are many amenities in the Valley, and looking forward, we want to provide a proper roadmap for future development. This ordinance authorizes us to contract with Farr Associates, a nationally known firm that was awestruck when they saw the uniqueness of this project and the fact that two cities are coming together. They told us that was virtually unheard of. They'd never seen that before. Tonight, Doug Farr and his associate Vita Costi, she may or may not be here, but they are going to present by sharing their screen later in a minute. But first, I wanted to let you know about that process. Mr. Farr was selected by a committee that consisted of a team from each city. The Cuyahoga Falls team consisted of myself, Fred Guerra, our planning director, Adam Paul, our senior planner, and Dan Rice, chair of our committee. The Akron team consisted of Jason Segedy, their planning director in Akron, Helen Tomic, long-range planning manager, Daniel D'Angelo, city planner, and Mike Antonucci, who is their zoning manager. And I'll stop right here for a moment and say that it truly was a pleasure to work with our Akron neighbors. I can't say enough about the level of cooperation that they exhibited with us and the value of their collected experience in this field. Was a great experience for, I think, myself and maybe both teams, and we had some fun along the way. So how did we get here? In 2018, we developed the Woodlands at Surrey Trail, and then we've developed the Villages at Sycamore in 2019. Both of those projects were built in Ward 8. A group of concerned citizens came to many meetings and voiced their objections to both of those developments. Mayor Walters believed that the concerns raised by those residents were legitimate and asked me and tasked me with organizing the group and to start meeting with them. I first reached out to Andrew Holland, who had emerged as their spokesperson, and Andrew is also here tonight with some of his team. And I'll thank Andrew also right now for his involvement and knowledge. I know I have learned way more about the environmental issues that exist in developing the Valley than I did when this process first began. Initially, about 8 to 10 residents and business owners from the Valley came to my office to meet. Also in those meetings were the mayor, then law director Russ Balthus, and council at large member Tim Gorbach. And on at least one occasion, Craig Kenkel, I think the mayor just mentioned him as being the superintendent of the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. I learned today he's been transferred to another location and been replaced by Lisa Pettit, who's the new superintendent. And Lisa King also came to those meetings, the executive director of Summit Metro Parks. It became clear in those meetings that we needed to do a master plan for the Valley, and the mayor authorized me to add the cost of a master plan to my annual budget. However, it was also fairly clear that if this was going to be successful, we needed to pull Akron into the process. So Fred started talking to Jason of Akron to see if Akron was willing to share in this project and the costs. But then COVID hit and all of our talks with Akron came to a standstill. Really, neither city was sure how COVID was going to affect our budgets for the annual period that we were talking about doing this. So then Akron began another housing project, Riverwoods. And like Sycamore, it is also a residential development being built on a golf course. That project got a lot of attention by this same group of concerned citizens that we had been meeting with. And those citizens were organized by Andrew Holland, and they started a movement, the Preserve the Valley movement. Ward 8 Councilman Frank Stamp started meeting with that group and with some folks in Akron. And he was relaying back to me the whole time the concerns about the Riverwoods development, which really was further evidence that we needed to do the master plan and get forward on that as soon as we could. And then finally, last fall, Jason called Fred and said that they were ready to proceed with the RFQ process, the request for qualifications. And so those went out late fall. We ended up interviewing 5 consultant teams. We narrowed it to 2, and we selected FAR Associates. After you see their presentation tonight, I think you will all agree that FAR is the team that is perfectly matched for this project. This ordinance provides that Cuyahoga Falls will serve as the fiscal agent. That means we will cover the expenses in total. Those come to about $200,000. We'll pay our half, $100,000 from CDBG funds. Akron is also going to pay their half, $100,000 from CDBG funds. But due to the rules in place for HUD, we will advance payment of Akron's half, and then we will seek reimbursement from Akron and get monthly bills from FAR and turn them over to Akron for reimbursement. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Fred, and he's going to introduce our new consultant, Doug Farr. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Diana. Just as Diana said, we started this process in 2018 when we met with the neighbors in the Schumacher area. They were interested in talking to the city about doing some planning in that area, and it was led by Jamie Preenet, a local realtor. And what we found out is that people really wanted a master plan for the area because they wanted to guide the way their property was going to be reused. They just didn't want to sell their property to a developer and end up having a typical cookie cutter type development that meets subdivision and zoning code requirements. They wanted to, again, to guide this process. And so that was how we started on this process. And as things moved, we ended up doing both the Schumacher area in this plan and the Merriman Valley. In other words, what they wanted was what we call a specific area plan. And that specific area plan really allows us to comprehensively focus on an area that you can't do when you do a comprehensive plan or you look at the community as a whole. It allows you to develop detailed development plans that include like building designs and types, circulation and transportation, open space, building type regulations, capital investment policies, land use policies, and some implementation strategies. We've done this before. We've been successful at it. The downtown umbrella plans that we did with the circulation plan, historic preservation plans, and marketing plans, that we did that helped make the downtown a success. And we also did something called the Cuyahoga River Corridor Brownfield Master Plan in South Front Street, and State Road Corridor Plan that led into the Portage Trail development. Whether you know this or not, is that the Cuyahoga River Corridor Brownfield Master Plan was completed by FAR Associates in 2005. In 2004, or actually 2004, and this was part of a US EPA Brownfield pilot assessment grant that the city received, which we completed environmental assessments, and we convinced the US EPA to let us do some planning at the same time. And they did. And they said, as long as you hire somebody that's really credible that can do a sustainable plan for this brownfield area. And they actually recommended FAR Associates when we did this. And so we went through the same process, RFQ, and we ended up hiring FAR Associates because of their experience in sustainability, smart growth, and lead neighborhood design. This plan, in conjunction with our environmental assessments and grants, is what we're using today to guide development. It guided the development of everything you see on South Front Street since 2005, Watermark, Riverwalk, the reuse of buildings down on South Front Street. And also, we probably forget, but it received 2 Smart Growth Awards in 2005. So when we started this process, we said we really need to make sure Farr Associates gets an RFQ because of the South Front Street and because of his Doug Farr and his firm's experience. Let's talk a little bit about Doug Farr and his firm. He is a national leader in planning and designing sustainable neighborhoods and buildings. He is a published author who lectures widely on the topics of urbanism and sustainability. Based on his firm's pioneering sustainable design practices and insights gained from chairing the lead neighborhood developments. Doug authored the urban planning bestseller, Sustainable Urbanism, Urban Design with Nature in 2008. In 2018, his follow-up book, Sustainable Nation, Urban Design Patterns for the Future, was also completed. He recently served as the executive board chair of the Congress for New Urbanism and now serves on the board of directors for Eco Districts. His experience is what we wanted when we talked about doing a plan for the Valley. He has assembled an impeccable team, and he'll talk more about this, including his firm, and Vita is here tonight. That she will be one of the lead people on the charrette team, and also in doing the plan. And he also brought in the Code Studio, who will do code work for the planning area, Crabtree Engineering, who will do engineering and some open space planning, and also Land Use USA, which is a marketing firm. We brought in the marketing firm because we learned this for our downtown project. We wanted to make sure what the plan says is doable. And so we made sure there was a marketing firm as part of this team. At the end of the day, you're going to see an illustrative master plan that includes mixed use areas, open space, circulation elements, and a smart code or regulating code that is going to be adopted by both cities. And then, as I said, the team will also do marketing activities to make sure this plan is going to work. And so I think I spoke too long already. I'm going to turn it over to Doug to talk about his upcoming work and also his team that he assembled. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Can you hear me, everybody? Wave if you can. All right. Thank you, Fred. Thanks, Diana. Thank Mayor Walters. One of the secrets of being a good planner is being brief. I feel like you just all presented what we were about to present, so maybe we could just, take the vote now. Just kidding. No, it's a pleasure to be talking to you all, and what Diana said about the rarity of 2 municipalities cooperating is true. It rarely happens. The sweetener for us was the focus locally on protecting the environment, which is, as Fred said, and we'll talk about, is really our MO. So without further ado, I'd like to ask Vita to share her screen if she can be empowered to do that. If you can find Vita's little square there or somebody and give her permission. Here we go. So we've got a little, few slide presentation, and we're available for questions afterwards. But anyway, again, thanks for this opportunity. And we hope to actually meet people live starting maybe late April or early May, depending on when we sort of kick off. But we're hoping to make a trip out there and meet as many people at a distance as we possibly can. So anyway, the study area. Vita, if you can click through. This is a timeline that we use just to describe our office. We've been in business 30 years. This is a timeline of our work. Above the line, our buildings we've designed, many of them working with developers. Below the line are plans we have prepared, most of them with municipalities. And so we straddle the line between both public and private clients, as well as large scale and individual buildings. So we bring forward a lot of experience on both sides of the line. And I think that makes us kind of better at both of the things we do. Next slide, please. We're also a JUST certified organization. If you're aware of that, we are, we take seriously our commitment to do good. So next one. Thank you, Vita. Here's our team, our little sort of thumbnails. That's me with Windy Hair Day. Vita will introduce herself momentarily, and Tim Kirkby will be helping us on urban design. And as Fred mentioned, we have 3 nationally significant firms working under us: Code Studio, based in Austin, Texas, and Lee Einsweiler has written codes from Los Angeles to Austin to Detroit to Cleveland, everywhere. He's just great, and so well spoken, and will be a gift to the project. Sharon Woods is based in Michigan, actually in Lansing, Michigan, and her work, Land Use USA, works again across the Midwest and across large parts of the country, and she does market analysis and does so in a very kind of clear and demystified way, which I like. She's just clear. And then Paul Crabtree is just one of the best sustainable engineers in the country. He's based in California. So you may not see all of those people all the time. You'll certainly see us live. But anyway, we've got a great team, and honored to have them along for the ride in Cuyahoga and Akron. Vita, can you take us through the work?
Sure. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm Vita Costi, urban planner with Farr Associates, and the project manager for this project. So I'm just going to quickly run you through the schedule. So this is the summary of the scope of work, and we budgeted about 8 to 9 months for the completion of this project. So we anticipate starting in April, so sometime next month, and then completing in early next year. So in that time frame, we aim to complete all of those 5 tasks to ensure that we have a thorough master plan document and illustrative master plan. I'm just going to quickly run through these tasks just to give you an understanding of what each one includes. So firstly, task 1 is the conditions analysis, and this will form the foundations for our proposal. So ultimately, gaining a deep understanding of the site is the first step. And this will entail a site visit. As Doug mentioned, we're hoping to come out early next month. We'll also be reviewing existing plans and documents and producing analysis maps and documents similar to the ones that you see on the screen, just to get a better understanding of the area and the site. Now, task 2 is identifying the key urban design features and characteristics needed to make the place the community wants it to be. So for example, as has been mentioned by the mayor and others, this site is a gateway to the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. And ultimately, to make this a destination that maybe people would want to go after a hike, we would need to identify the building blocks to create a destination, or whatever it is we want it to be, and then see how we could apply that to the site. So that would all happen under task 2. Now, task 3A, we would create two scenarios based on the information that we get from task 1 and 2, and ultimately these scenarios are what will help us identify what the preferred plan is. Task 3B, we will create an illustrative master plan for the entire site. As Fred mentioned earlier, it will include sort of mixed use and open space, and the movement flows through the site. And then we will also provide a detailed project by project guide for the steps to implementation and how to sort of, turn this plan into a reality. And then finally, task 4 and 5 is the regulating the code and adoption, and this will be led by Code Studios, and they will, take the process through for adoption for both cities. Doug, did you want to jump in here?
Yes, and I will do so after I unmute. Much better. Thank you. So just kind of at a high level, this Vita's gone through a fairly our standard approach: gather information, generate alternatives, test alternatives, arrive at a preferred future. But in terms of what we will leave behind with you is a plan that steers a fast-growing area in the right direction. You can read the rest of it on your own, but that's really what's important to me and to this process. Vita, if you can go to the next slide.
Sure.
Yeah. So this is you.
Yeah.
Back to you, Vita. Sorry.
So we we anticipate including the community at every step of the process through a hybrid charrette. And what we do is we employ the National Charrette Institute model and introduce multiple feedback opportunities throughout the entire process. And this method allows for maximum community input at every step of the way. And that is to ensure that we have the best outcome for the site. And we have...
Vita, if I can add, just charrette is a word people may know or may not know. I can't see the screen now, but a charrette is just an intense workshop that takes place either over a number of consecutive days or in multiple visits. So it gives you 3 feedback loops. And that's really important to just get it right. So sorry, I just want to define charrette. Keep going.
Great. And then just to let you know, in the crazy world that we find ourselves in now, we have been able to hold hybrid and social distance charrettes, and we sort of do follow the policies of the state and you know, health and safety guidelines. So on the left, you can see the image of just a regular live charrette, and on the right, we did everyone's wearing the face mask, and we did smaller groups and limited the number of people that were allowed in. So again, with the charrette for this project, we'll sort of determine what the best, you know, method is based on health and safety guidelines.
Yeah, and maybe this is the closer, and this is just to say we really did feel like lightning had struck, or we'd won the lottery, or whatever your kind of superlative is, when we got the RFP from Fred, and then especially after our team was chosen, really because this is kind of our intellectual space, is the intersection of development, which is often seen as only a negative and only harmful to an environment. And then environment and its protection, and recognizing that high environmental quality is often the baseline or the foundation or the bedrock of economic development. And so 2 things that seem like you should keep them apart, we've sort of delved in to say there actually is a better way to do development. And it happens because of planning. It does not happen in the free market automatically. In fact, quite the contrary. So anyway, I'm glad to talk to anybody at any length. I'm sorry to offer this, but at any length about any of this stuff. But in terms of bringing forward to this project and you know, this special area on the earth, you know, some of the best thinking that our team can muster. We're really honored to be your partner in working together. So I think that's our last slide. Is that right, Vita? I hope so. Yes. So now, and then we're polite. We say thank you. So welcome any, you know, questions or comments or whatever, and we can stop sharing the screen, I think, and so we can see everybody. So anyway, excited to be working together. And I should say, you're all invited to every meeting. It's important that plans get a lot of input and participation. 1, it makes the plans better. 2, elected officials, when they go to vote to adopt the plan, need to feel confident that the public has seen it and kicked the tires and blesses it. So anyway, just tell your friends, tell your family. It'll be fun. You'll learn stuff, you know, and just really excited to start work and look forward to meeting everybody. Back to you, Fred.
Fred, do you have anything else you wanted to say?
Sorry, I was talking, but I had it muted. I said I was going to turn it over to Mika. So
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. Mr. Segerty, who's with the City of Akron, do you have anything that you wanted to add? I believe I saw you on the call.
Sure, I'll be brief. Good evening, Mayor Walters, members of council. I appreciate you letting me crash your meeting this evening, and we're very much looking forward to working with you. I think anytime that the 2 largest, and I'll say for our purposes here, best cities in Summit County can come together and work on something is a thing to celebrate. As everybody here knows, I think if any of us were starting from scratch and drawing that corporate line, we probably wouldn't draw the one that's out there today. So it makes good sense for us to work across that crazy quilt boundary in the valley. And as Far said, and as Fred and Diana mentioned, it really was a pleasure working with you to select this great team and to and really just to come together as two communities to talk about the needs in the valley. Personally, I'm very excited about the zoning part of this. I think we in particular in Akron have some zoning that's outdated and doesn't necessarily reflect the realities of the valley today. So we look forward to working with you. Appreciate all of the partnership, and Mayor Horrigan sends his greetings, and we'll look forward to this process with you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I know we have a lot of residents on the call, and I just wanted to assure everyone that you will have a moment to speak. When you do, just please give your name and your address. But first, we're going to go to the committee members of community development and then council as a whole. And then we're going to open it up to public comments. So first, is there any comments from anyone on community development? Mr. Miller or Mr. Loza, Mrs. Loza? Nope, no shaking. Okay, just want to make sure. I myself, as a chair of community development, when this came before me, I was very excited to see it. I love that it's going to have all the input and many times over the input and opportunities to get the input from the residents for this master plan. So I'm extremely excited to see that. That's my comments. So now I'm going to open it up to comments from anyone on City Council. And if you have anything, please. Oh, okay, Mr. Brillhart, I saw your hand first.
Thank you. Basically, I just want to say I think this is a wonderful idea, and I applaud everyone that's worked so hard to bring this to this point. And I'm very encouraged by what Mr. Farr said, that this is going to be fun. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
I believe Mr. Gorbach, I saw your hand next.
Thank you. I had the pleasure to meet with a number of the folks meetings during the course of this, and I think I just got muted again.
No, we can hear you.
No, we can hear you. You're just frozen, but we can hear you. We lost him. He'll come back. Mr. Balthus, would you like to pick up, and then we'll come back to Mr. Gorbach?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's funny what I find interesting here is as we're talking about this planning process. Fred mentioned some of the planning process when we started the planning for Front Street, and I remember during that process, one of the things that the research told us is that one day, an organization may move its headquarters with like hundreds of jobs to our downtown. And to be very candid, at the time, if you walked in our downtown, though it had a lot of great things, I didn't really envision 100 jobs moving into our downtown, yet we just approved the parking lot for a business that's coming in and bringing 100 jobs into our downtown. So I think it just goes to show you how these processes, so they can take some time, when you put the work in, and most importantly, you have solid community engagement and involvement, you can really lead to some great outcomes. And so I know that there's a lot of people in the community, a lot of people at City Hall, a lot of people in Akron and Cuyahoga Falls that have been working really hard on all the issues surrounding the valley. And I'm incredibly optimistic about this project. And I think it's going to go every bit as well as our planning did for the downtown here. And I'm excited about it. I look forward to being very involved, and I encourage everyone to be involved, because it's only going to be as successful as we all are willing to be honest and share our thoughts and listen to other thoughts and be engaged. So I look forward to doing that, and I look forward to the results. So thank you, Madam Chair.
No problem. Mr. Gorbach, I saw that you came back.
I did. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I apologize. I don't know what is happening with my computer setup, but I heard some of what Russ said and couldn't agree more. I had the pleasure of meeting with a number of the folks early on in the process, and as Diana said, learned a lot, and really appreciated the time I had with them. And I look forward to Mr. Farr and Ms. Kowski coming down to visit us in person and being a part of this moving forward. The Valley has such tremendous potential, and I'm excited to see what that potential is, because this type of design is not in my wheelhouse. So I'm excited to be a part of it. And as Russ said, and I'm sure we all will continue just to encourage all the residents, as many as possible, to join in on this and get their feedback, because this is for you. So I'm excited to move forward. Thank you for the presentation.
Yes, yes. Mrs. Nichols-Rhodes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to echo very much what you said, but I want to just say this is an example of really good government. The administration from the get-go, listening to the residents, wanting to know how we could go forward and have environmentally responsible development, listening to the residents, listening to the council members, listening to everybody, and putting together a plan so that we can move forward in really great ways. And so I thank the mayor and the administration, and I know that Councilman Balthus and Councilman Stams and Councilman Gorbach have all been very involved with trying to make things right. And I think this is a great step in that direction. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Is there anyone from council or Mrs. Spinner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say, as somebody who grew up in Akron, and I've now spent more of my life in Cuyahoga Falls than I did in Akron, but the Valley was such a special place, and it was the gateway to Cuyahoga Falls. I have a lot of memories of going through the Valley to enjoy what Cuyahoga Falls had to offer, and it was always a special trip and a special treat. And but the Valley, through elementary and high school, it just was very special. And I'm just so glad that, both my worlds are coming together, and that all this very exciting planning and very thoughtful planning that's including residents from both areas, and this wonderful FAR associates, sounds like an amazing plan. So I'm just really excited, and I just wanted to share that because the Valley is a special place to me, and I know it is to the residents that live down there. And there's just so many opportunities for great business and for all of the park enthusiasts and everybody to enjoy all aspects of that area. So thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation.
Yeah. Is there anyone else? Mr. Iola, I see your hand.
I'd just like to say, because, I've been on council for almost 12 years. And back when I first started on there, Akron and Cuyahoga Falls were not the best friends. But I'm really happy to see that both, as Mr. Farr said, the two largest cities in the county, are working together great. And I think that's so much. And that's why that, heading down to the Valley and everything, that it's kind of a mishmash where we own part of the land, Akron owns part of the land and all. But I think it's just great that Mayor Walters, Mayor Horrigan and all are really getting together and, hey, let's make this the best damn county in the state. Thank you very much.
Yep. Okay. Anyone else from the administration or from council that had any remarks they wanted to make or any questions? I'm just going to make sure and raise your hand and make sure I see you or speak up. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the public comments. And again, raise your hand and please state your name and your address clearly so we can mark it for our records. But I want to reiterate, everyone is going to have a moment to speak. So we will be here as long as you need to, but please keep your comments. Don't be repetitive, I guess I would say, but please make sure that you are heard. So just raise your hand. Who would like to go first? Is there a certain order? Or if Mr. Holland wanted to go first? And Diana, please help me see if anyone is.
Mr. Holland has his hand up.
Oh, if someone will unmute him.
I think I was able to unmute myself, Madam
Wonderful,
Chair.
wonderful.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Andrew Holland, and I live at 2079 Zurich Trail, Kaga Falls, Ward 8, former Northampton Township. I have an Akron mailing address, Kaga Falls Tax Nexus, and I'm an owner of an Akron-based business. Like many people in Northeast Ohio, I consider Kaga Valley the best backyard one could hope for. I spend the majority of my free time cycling, mountain biking, and skiing its roads and trails. I am invested in the valley fiscally and mentally. As many of you know, I've been involved with issues related to the development of the Merriman Valley since 2017. I thank you all for your patience and understanding during my 4-year civics education. For the past year, I've been fortunate to serve as one of the core members of PreserveTheValley.com. We are a citizen action coalition dedicated to engaging and amplifying citizens' voices in protecting and planning for the future of the Merriman Valley. Preserve the Valley is thankful that the City of Kaga Falls and Kaga Falls Council have worked so diligently to approve and fund a master planning process for the Merriman Valley and Schumacher area. I would specifically like to recognize the following for their efforts during the difficult times in 2017 to 2019 and their diligence to ensure that the pending master planning event will be an equitable collaboration with the City of Akron. Mayor Walters, thank you. Community Development Director Diana Colavecchio, Councilpersons Frank Stams, Tim Gorbach, Russ Balthus, Mary Nichols Rhodes, and Adam Miller, former Councilman Russ Iona, Planning Director Fred Guerrera, City Engineer Tony DeMasi, and Service Director Anthony Zumba. Mayor Walters and members of Council, we are encouraged by the collaboration to date with the City of Akron and the selection of FAR associates to guide the pending master planning process. We believe that Douglas Farr's vision for sustainable urbanism and citizen-led self-governing neighborhoods could help our communities realize the potential of the entire Kaga Valley and create a unique differentiator for Kaga Falls, Akron, and the surrounding cities and townships that will retain our current citizens and attract net new citizens to revitalize our area. Mr. Farr's tenets of sustainable urbanism resonate with us, integrating transportation and land use, creating sustainable neighborhoods, including housing, car-free areas, locally owned stores, walkable neighborhoods, and universal accessibility. The health and environmental benefits of linking humans to nature, including walk-to open spaces, neighborhood stormwater systems, and waste treatment and food production. And lastly, high-performance buildings and district energy systems. We are further encouraged that FAR Associates and its partners will prepare a form-based zoning code to be adopted by both cities as one of the deliverables of this process. We believe that decision will ensure the best chance for regulatory language to create a physical place envisioned by the community. Mayor Walters and members of Council, while encouraged by this pending master planning process, we are also cautious that the process may stop short of deep introspection that will be required by both cities to review and potentially unwind previous decisions made or not made after the Northampton merger in 1986. We believe that previously contentious relations between the City of Kaga Falls and the City of Akron did not provide the opportunity to review and solve these problems. Kicking those cans down a 35-year-old road has resulted in governance, taxation, and public safety challenges. Mayor Walters and members of Council, we are asking for your continued leadership and endurance during this process to ensure that it is a comprehensive process and that the outcome is equitable for the citizens of both cities. We worry that conscious decisions to limit the planning area may be penny wise and pound foolish, and that a Tice Road development and associated 15-year City of Akron tax abatement would have further adverse effects on the citizens of Kaga Falls and cause unnecessary and irreparable environmental harm. We agree with you, Mayor Walters. This is a great day for the citizens of Kaga Falls and Akron. We are ready to stand in front of a hopefully blank sheet of paper with you, Doug Farr, FAR Associates, and Valley stakeholders to create a plan for the sustainable future of the Kaga Valley. With that, I'd like to introduce my friend Brett Safran, friend and fellow member of Preserve the Valley.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Brett Safran. My address is 1104 West Bath Road, Cuyahoga Falls. I've heard both Mayors Walters and Horrigan speak of attracting young professionals to their cities. I'd like to briefly share some thoughts on that. My wife and I met in engineering classes at the University of Akron. Following graduation, we moved to Georgia for work and lived there for a few years. When we got homesick and decided to move back to Northeast Ohio, we chose to buy a house in the Merriman Valley because of the great recreational opportunities and the proximity to the national park. Neither of us grew up in Summit County, but we fell in love with the valley and plan to stay here for the foreseeable future. That's why it was so frustrating to see housing projects gobbling up our remaining woodlands and cannibalizing our best asset for attracting new residents. That's why I got involved with Preserve the Valley. As Andrew just mentioned, it's been more than 3 years since we got involved in these efforts to better plan for the future of the valley. In the last 6 months, as additional residential projects were proposed prior to the promised master plan, this grassroots movement took on a life of its own and grew at a pace that none of us could have imagined. Dubbed Preserve the Valley, our mission is to engage and amplify citizens' voices in protecting and planning for the future of the Cuyahoga Valley. Our petition calling for more protected green space around the valley received 15,679 signatures. We've distributed over 300 yard signs and banners throughout Summit County. We brought together a core team of 18 leaders and a contact list of 756 members. Our volunteers logged over 1,200 hours and put together a 20-page white paper on alternatives to residential sprawl and the potential economic benefits that could be realized by nurturing the growing recreation economy in the valley. Our website, preservethevalley.com, has been viewed by over 11,000 visitors and averages 500 visits per week. We've hosted 3 virtual community meetings featuring experts in urban development and council members from both cities. Our members have submitted hundreds of emails and calls to both city councils, wrote dozens of letters to editors, and participated in 2 rallies in the valley to draw attention to the issue. It's safe to say that members of this community have come together because we have too much to lose by accepting business as usual. We want to be clear, we are not anti-development. We recognize that both cities need to grow their population, and we hope that can be done in a way that attracts new residents and retains the existing ones. We are thrilled and grateful that Farr Associates has been selected to facilitate the Valley Master Plan. Mr. Farr, on behalf of Preserve the Valley, we want to offer our resources as a partner in this process. It is our hope that we can leverage the networks we've built to spread the word and help bring as many stakeholders as possible to the table. We hope that through collaboration, we can answer the questions: what does it look like to be a good neighbor to a national park? And how can we build a more sustainable city, create a sense of place centered on outdoor recreation, and then leverage that reputation to attract new residents and tourists? With that, I'd like to ask Scott Myers to share our aspirations for the Valley. Thanks again.
Thank you, Brett. My name is Scott Myers. I live at 1701 Akron Peninsula Road in Cuyahoga Falls. A lot of what I wrote to share with you has been stated so well by so many people. I need to do the thing that I hate doing, which is on the fly edit something. So I will just mention that my wife Gina and I are either one or both of us are out on the roads, the trails, or the towpath in the valley every day of the week, almost every day of the year, because if it's snowing, we go skiing. So we're out a lot. I talk to everyone who I don't recognize. I find people who are doing through hiking here from out of state. So the one point that I'd like to just make clear is that we steward a shared resource, not just for ourselves, but for many outside our city. And a lot of those people are outside our state. I don't know how many of their voices will be included, but we need to recognize that people come here from out of town. Farr and Associates, we are so thrilled that you got chosen. The first Planning Commission meeting that I went to, the first statement I made was how uncomfortable I was being in a setting where I was opposing somebody. Everything I do outside of the last 3 or 4 years at 2 different city councils has been in opposition to something. Everything outside of those council meetings I do is collaborative work towards shared vision and working to achieve that. So I can't tell you how thrilled I am to hear that as the conversation that we have tonight. That's what I'm used to. And that's what I desire. The meeting that Diana mentioned with all the cast of characters that she read off, we were asked as the group now known as Preserve the Valley, we didn't have that name, what we were looking for out of a process like this. Primarily, we said we were looking for as many voices to be heard as possible. We didn't want to steer the boat, but we did come up with 6 statements that I've been asked to share. We envision a Merriman Valley that is recognized locally and regionally with aspirations for national recognition as a destination for the current and planned historical, retail, dining, outdoor market, entertainment, and recreational activities the Merriman Valley and Kaga Valley National Park offers. We want a valley that supports safe and sustainable visitation to the Merriman Valley by a growing number of citizens that are seeking to access the valley assets. We want an area that creates public awareness for and police and safety recognition of the need to protect pedestrians, runners, and cyclists that utilize the Merriman Valley roads. We would like to see the economic benefit of the growing outdoor recreation market maximized for Akron, Cuyahoga Falls, and Peninsula in a sustainable and responsible manner. We would like to see the municipalities, citizens, and businesses that benefit from the awareness created by the utilization of the natural resources of the Merriman Valley recognize their responsibility for the ongoing maintenance, and this is important, and continued planning of the area after this process. We would like to see that the valley is recognized nationally as a case study of how citizens collaborate with city, state, county, and federal entities to determine a sustainable democratic use of natural assets, creating a multi-generational driver for mental, physical, and economic health. Thank you. I would like to turn that over to Gina Burke.
Good evening, and thank you for letting us speak to you. And obviously I have the same address. My watershed address is 1701 Akron Peninsula Road. Our Merriman Valley neighborhood is the embodiment of the issues in the jigsaw puzzle of our 2 municipalities' historic zoning quagmire. We live daily the outsized forces impacting our environment, community, and economic health and well-being in the basin of the Kaga River watershed, arguably one of this country's most famous and environmentally significant rivers. In 2019, both Kaga Falls and Akron participated in the Torch Fest 50 Celebrate event that brought the entire 100 miles of the Kaga River watershed together to connect our communities to the economic, social, and recreational driver that Kaga River has become since it famously caught fire in 1969. We have the EPA and Clean Water Act because of the environmental activism of citizens who had enough. Water just can't burn. And political leaders like Cleveland Mayor Carl Stokes, Congressman Louis Stokes, acted effectively starting the environmental justice movement. In the Kaga Valley, Congressman John Seiberling responded to local citizens organizing against the development impacts of Akron's industrial waste, construction of I-77 and I-271, and development sprawl of Towpath Village on Akron Peninsula Road. By establishing what is now known as the Kaga Valley National Park, which protected the watershed and helped restore life to the dead river and to our local community and economy. It was citizens first, then government action, policy, laws, and money, cross-sector partnering, and hard work over time that brought our regional success. Through my participation in Sustainable Cleveland 2019, which brought you the Torch Fest, advocacy as a board member of the NEO-US Green Building Council, and founding member of the Greater Akron Innovation Network for Sustainability, I am well aware of the imperative of citizen participation to affect tangible change on the scale of the whole region. I have worked literally thousands of hours for the last 10 years for this moment. And I am deeply grateful for this coming to pass. We find ourselves again at a watershed moment. The scale of environmental crisis and COVID has made cooperative action to protect and restore our environment our only response globally and locally. I speak in full support of this master plan for the scope that it encompasses. I believe Farr and Associates understands the imperative of acknowledging the environment as a key stakeholder and true citizen engagement as a with citizens process that must become law, guiding equitable, holistic, sustainable development. I too thank members of council, Mayor Walters, for hearing us and agreeing to a precedent-setting cooperative joint master planning process. To Ms. Colavecchio for her commitment to us to see this through, and to Ward 8 Councilman Frank Stams for keeping your eye on the ball through this process in an unprecedented, challenging year of 2020. And to all of council, thank you for your service to the citizens of Cuyahoga Falls.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please raise your hand or unmute yourself.
Mika, Dr. Shaheen had his hand up as
Yes,
well
thank
as,
you.
okay.
Dr. Shaheen?
Yes, I'm Dr. William Shaheen of 2189 Zurich Trail. I just want to thank the mayor, city council officials, as well as representatives from Akron who are present tonight, as well as another member of the Corps from Preserve the Valley. I just wanted to summarize some of the comments made. In conclusion, we appreciate everyone's patience. You know, I heard the word COVID used many times already during the course of this meeting on a city planning meeting. And if there's any lesson to be learned, it's the failure to respond to any situation at every level, on a political level, on institutional level, and even on the level of the citizenry. And the challenge of uniting institutions in a free market society and a democratic society is a challenge. This was overcome by two municipalities coming together to agree on this master plan. It's our hope now for Preserve the Valley that we find the affirmations read by Mr. Myers to become confirmations. And we hope that city councils from both entities follow through not just with the open process of the charrettes and citizen input, but in ratification of the code that is such an essential part of this. It's also our hope that we see this ratification extend not just to the geography that was portrayed on that PowerPoint presentation that we just witnessed, but to the surrounding areas as well, that we see in jeopardy, including the Tice Road development that is under play right now in the city of Akron discussions. Together, we can serve to unite these areas into one greater master planning process that we hope will benefit us, not just on a green space preservation area, but on an economic plan and even on a civic vitality, for we now know that health is tied to these sustainable developments as well. This is a small area, but we hope that it will serve symbolically in other areas as well. Our political and economic competitor has 500 smart cities in planning right now. And the People's Republic of China continues to move forward on these developments. And so the stakes are much greater than our small parcel here in Northeast Ohio. We look forward to your input, Mr. Farr. We welcome you back to the Valley, as well as your team, including Ms. Costi.
Thank you very much. And who else would like to speak? I'm flipping. Mr. Allman?
Hand up, I'm sorry.
Dallas, if you'd like to unmute yourself. There you go. All set.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you
sir.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Dallas Allman.
I live at 303 Timber Ridge in Cuyahoga Falls address, but Akron resident. I have a business on 2108 Akron Peninsula Road. It's the Towpath Tennis Center, and it is probably one of the oldest businesses in the valley. And I've seen the valley from a perspective of being a sophomore in college and then continue on to become a owner of this business and enjoying the benefits of tennis and recreation and what have you. But I want to celebrate what is happening tonight, the coming together of Akron and Cuyahoga Falls. I've been subject to floods. I've been subject to annexation problems. I've been subject to just confusion in terms of fire departments and just all the issues over the I would say 52 years that the business has been here. With that being said, though, I am in love with the valley. The valley is a gem. And the one story I want to tell is that I want to channel John Seiberling. I was at the dedication of the Cuyahoga Valley National Recreation Park when John Seiberling spoke. And the channeling is, I want to go back to a location in the valley. Right now, the Summit Metro Parks are celebrating 100 years of parks. And it all started here in the valley with 1 acre of land being dedicated and turned over to the Summit Metro Parks. And it was turned over to Frank Seiberling, who was the father of John Seiberling, at a dedication ceremony for the Daughters of America Revolution in 1925 on the 100th year of Akron celebrating its being a city. So I gotta believe that John Seiberling was there as an 8-year-old when his father dedicated that park. And that park is at the very southern terminus. It's Courtney Park, and there's a rock there. And it's on the southern terminus of the Kaga River. And on the other end of that, the Portage Path is in Long Lake. So we have a history that goes back in time, and we have people that have had vision for this area, the Seiberlings, and now we have, as our own group of citizenry, that have a chance to have something that is going to be created that we can all look back, and maybe our generation coming forward can look back and say, what did these two cities do? And what a great place to live. So I'm channeling Frank Seiberling, John Seiberling, and I'm excited about the experts here, Doug Farr, and I have a wealth of knowledge about what happened here, and I'm looking forward to giving that input. So with that being said, I'm jazzed by everything that's going on. Thank you.
You're wonderful, wonderful. Is there anyone else that wanted to speak? I'm making sure there's 2 screens. I'm flipping back and forth.
Hello? Hello?
I don't think anyone else wanted to speak.
I think Mr. Stamps has his.
Oh,
I am
Frank
on a
Stamps.
call with the.
Okay, Mr. Stams?
Yeah,
I'm on a call with the Cuyahoga Falls Department. Yeah. I'm
Thank
muted
you.
now.
Can you mute yourself, Mr.
Can I call you
Allman?
back?
Or John, can we mute Mr.?
Yeah, well, I can't, I don't have an answer right this minute. We can get an answer. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Just 1 second. All right, Mr. Stams, all yours.
Thank you, Mika. And wow, what a tough act to follow. All the citizens speaking. And I just want to just add humbly that, it's, the key going forward is going to be, as I think everybody knows, is engagement. And as you can see from the Ward 8 community and the Merriman Valley community on both sides, Akron and Cuyahoga Falls, engagement, I don't believe is going to be a problem. I'm truly humbled to be their representative. They should be very proud of the statements that they made tonight. That's outstanding. I also want to congratulate, everybody on both sides, Mayor Walters and his administration, and Mayor Horgan and his administration as well. But I'm going to ask a favor of my colleagues on City Council, is to please join me in the engagement of the master plan. And I truly mean that. I want you to be part of it. Come down, experience it. Maybe we can spend some time together, going through the Merriman Valley and spending some time out here in Ward 8, because I really want you to connect with this and engage it and get a feel for, not that you haven't already, certainly not trying to say that, but I look forward to engaging with all my council members going forward on this master plan. Thank you very much, Mika.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Is there anyone else wanted to speak? I want to make sure everyone is heard. Okay, it looks like everyone has. And like everyone has said before, I think, like Mr. Stam says, and many of the residents, it's going to take everyone's input to make sure that it's a successful master plan and multiple times, and having this from 8 to 9 months, gathering information on multiple platforms and working together. I think this can be a very successful master plan for the future and the vision. And we all enjoy the parks, but this is a way to help envision it correctly for everyone, and making sure that everyone's concerns input is accepted and brought to the table. So I'm looking forward to it. And again, if no one has anything else to say, at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve bringing out B13 out of committee for a vote with a favorable recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Motion passes 3-0. So we'll bring this out of committee and we will vote on it on Monday, the 22nd. And that concludes the Community Development Committee. And again, thank you everyone for your input, and if you can see the comments down at the bottom, please feel free to read, but thank you very much for your input. And that concludes City Council.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. Thank you
Thanks, everybody.
for all your attendance.